you. Could you give everybody who's watching a brief explanation about yourself, your background, and of course your business Recruiting Talent?
No problem, and thank you for having me. Always nice to do things like this, so it takes your direction away from day-to-day stuff. So Julie Murphy, my business is Recruiting Talent, and we are a recruitment to recruitment professional. I started the business just over 6 years ago, and my journey was I worked in the recruitment agency world for over 20 years. Very passionate about it. It served me extremely well. I met some really good clients, good friends that are still my best friends now, and I set up the business over 6 years ago, and I've now got 4 of my close friends, confidants,
Amazing.
and they're all working with me. So that's a wee bit about the business. What we do, I explain it when people ask me what I do in recruitment, because I meet people and they think I do every kind of bit of recruitment, and I don't. What we do is we are the recruiter's recruiter. So if a recruitment consultant, manager, director, with whatever level is looking for another opportunity, we only do agency. We don't do internal or TA positions. It's not our market. It's not our network. If they're looking for an opportunity to move, they come and speak to us, and the service is all confidential. We partner with them. And if an agency is looking for another recruiter, they come and speak to us, and we'll then map out who would be the right person with the right skills and experience. So that's what we do in a nutshell.
Brilliant, brilliant. And would you say that this industry has evolved over the years?
Well, I can only speak really about the last just over 6 years. So I'll speak about Scotland, because Scotland is our market, albeit we do work down in England. We don't do any international work. But when I started over 6 years ago, I was on my own, and there was only really another 3 agencies that were based in Scotland, direct professional agencies, and most of them are down in England. So what I have seen is because Scotland is pretty small in the grand scale of the UK, you kind of really grasp what's going on in the market, because it's easier to do. And what I have seen is, my goodness, I thought I'd go into this and it would just be, business as usual every year, same kind of market, a wee bit of change. But oh my goodness, over the last 6 years, I have seen such a difference. I've seen the market going from really tech biased, because tech, working within recruitment agencies, recruiters who do tech, there was such an uplift in that just pre-COVID and then after COVID, and then that just kind of tailed right off. And then what we have seen is, throughout of kind of COVID and lockdown times, industrial and driving and healthcare just taking an absolute boom. And then now that's probably plateaued, and what we're seeing now is construction. Anything to do with construction, whether that's blue collar, white collar, throughout the whole of Scotland. The agency, we can't get enough construction recruiters. We're on a wee small bowl, and we're trying to, get the best and move them about. So so that's the market now. That and anything to do with international renewable energy. There's agencies in Scotland who recruit for international clients, and that's pretty buoyant as well and very lucrative. But you really need to know what you're doing.
Yeah, and an industry that I imagine is not going away.
Not going away. I think I've seen a bit of a change in it, and I'm not very technical, but just speaking to my clients. But there's investment through government schemes and stuff, in order to really invest in renewable energy, whereas a lot of businesses maybe that are not in that, they don't get them funds from the government, they're private businesses, whereas we really need to clean up our environment. So yes.
And what qualities do you think makes a recruiter stand out when you are, recruiting for your clients? Is there a standout quality, or does it depend on the type of client that you're working with?
I would say the qualities are, and what we look for is, everybody's different. So what we do is, every recruiter we meet, it's about them as a person. It's not just about, you've worked there, you've got that experience, this is much you made the company. It's really all about them as an individual. And also the qualities we look for is commitment. If we speak to them on the phone, we then arrange to meet them face to face. And if they don't want to, or they don't commit, we don't work with them. So recruiters that turn up, so if you phone them, they agree to phone you, you phone them at a certain time, they'll pick up the phone. If you then agree to go and meet them, they're not, you know, stalling it and rearranging it and all the rest of it, because that to me is the fundamentals of a recruiter. So if they go into a place, they need to turn up.
Yeah.
They need, because they want their candidates to turn up. They want their clients to commit back to them. So to me, as people that turn up, there's commitment. When you go to meet them, it's a two-way thing. And also they turn up, they're professional, they're themselves, but also they don't kind of slate their company that they're in and disrespect their company they're in.
Absolutely.
But it's completely confidential. Sometimes actually they've maybe not went through a very good time, and sometimes they need to, you know, kind of sound it off, and that's important. But it's moving on from that. And when they've been out to meet clients that we deal with, is that, you know, they cover it, but they don't go into the emotional side, and they really, suppose, they put themselves out there in the best light they possibly can. So the qualities are, they turn up for us, we turn up for them, we don't cancel them, you know, and for them, that says a lot about them as a recruiter.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think as well, it shows them about being organised as well. If they're, you know, turning up, taking calls when they've agreed to, you know, all that is, it just stands you in good stead. What would you say that, you know, for anybody that's maybe working, you know, just now, that's already perhaps a recruitment consultant at quite an early stage in their career, or considering perhaps going into it, what would you say the career progression looks like for these types of professionals?
I would say that it is a bloody good industry. And if you get in, what tends to happen is they fall into the industry. So they come into an agency, speak to a recruiter or a manager of a recruitment agency, and they've just got something about them. So, and they then talk to them about working in recruitment. And you don't need to have qualifications to work in recruitment. It's all about you as a person. It's your character. It's how you represent yourself. And what I would say is, in the first 12 months, you always find that they fall into a company and they fall into a market because they don't know anything else. They just fell into it because they spoke to that particular person. And what tends to happen is, within the first 12 months, you know, is it the right market I'm recruiting in? Is it the right company I'm with? And you know a lot more within that 12 months, and people start to make a change and think, right, I'm good at recruitment, but this is not the right agency for me. It's maybe too small or too corporate, or my leader is not really the kind of leader that I want, whatever the reasons are. And also the market, they maybe go into a market and they're actually a wee bit more technical, and the market's not as challenging technically. So probably within the first 12 months, they make that change. But what I would say, anybody getting into this industry, is it is a career. It is not just a job, it's a career. And what you put in, you will get back out. And if you're willing to put the work in, you're willing to really put yourself out there. The other thing I would say is, you need to have a network. Once you're in recruitment, you need to be on LinkedIn, you need to be visual, and you need to be, you need to build your own brand within that company, because you need to be different, but and not be salesy and not sell your granny, or, you know, none of that. People, that's long ago. It's been professional, but also just being yourself. It is a great industry, and you can progress if you get into the right company, and also you can make some really good money, and it can be life-changing.
Oh, fantastic. And I think you're right, long gone are the days of the over sales approach. It needs to be consultative, doesn't it? And really listen to what clients need. What would you say you don't have to disclose figures, but the salary trends are for people? So for example, is it the basic smaller and there's a higher bonus, or the other way around, or 50-50?
I would say, so in your first 12 months, if you've never worked in recruitment, entry-level salaries are now, and I'm just probably taking, instead across the UK, let's talk about Scotland. So if you're entering into the industry and you're maybe a grad, or you've worked in retail, or whatever your background is, you're probably starting about 25 to 28, depending on experience. And probably an attraction to get into recruitment is that you've maybe did a kind of, even an outbound sales role, or customer service, or dealing with a client or a customer. That is really, really important. So salaries in the first 12 months, I would say you can make some commission. If you've never did it before, and you maybe make about maybe 20% of your salary in commission.
Okay.
That's pretty average. After, if you're in the right market and in the right in the agency that is really driven by high performance, you know, you could probably add another 50% onto your salary of what you would make in commission. But year two, if you're really in the right place and you know your market, you should double your salary with your commission.
Amazing.
There is some recruiters out there in specific markets that are maybe on a base of 35 and they're earning six figures, but they've worked hard.
Yeah.
And they really, really know, they keep their clients close and they look after their candidates. That's another thing. It's not a transactional, really don't care, we'll get you in and stick you, you know, for an interview. You really need to look after your candidates. You need to partner with them rather than seeing them as just a transaction, and your clients are really important. Both are just as important.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I suppose in your industry as well, as your candidates could become your next clients down the line as well. So, you know, it could turn itself around as well. So absolutely. What would you say, we've talked about all the, you know, the great things about the position. What would you say are the challenges for people in that they're either in the industry or maybe looking to get into it?
I would say that now what we have is, again, I'm just kind of going back to the kind of whole lockdown piece. A lot of the kind of bigger national agencies have really good training programs. So what they do is they can train people with no experience or grads. So they have a proper program, and it's, you know, at least they're getting the fundamentals before they maybe go in and actually do the role.
Okay.
And a lot of the time, so a lot of the agencies, the nationals, I say, are bringing them in, and they know that they're not going to keep. Sorry, my apologies. I thought it was my doorbell. They know they're not going to keep everybody, so they know that. So if they bring in maybe 10 rookies, trainees, they know that they might end up with 4 or 5 after maybe 6 months, because that's just what happens. But there's such a shortage of talent coming through.
Okay.
And the way there's not these academies. There is some, but not to the volume there was before. So to try and get into the industry, it's sometimes just going on and actually going direct, doing your, you know, mapping out and thinking, right, what agencies are sitting in my location, what market, you know, do I want to go into, and just going right on LinkedIn, finding the right person. And this is my way of doing things: pick up the phone.
Yeah,
See this email and this is what I think we need to. There's a place for that, and that's what we need to do when we start having relationships. But get on the phone, because you're going to stand out from the person who's just sending a CV and not really did the research. And you want to be going direct to the person or finding out through your network. People are in the industry, you know, who's your manager, and just go direct to them, because you need to have a wee bit of guts to do things in this industry. You need to be resilient. So, but you need to have a bit of confidence, and that shows confidence, and it shows that you're doing something a bit different.
No, I completely agree. And I think it's about, like you said there, doing that little bit of detective work about who works where and who's responsible for that, and sometimes grabbing the bull by the horns and picking up the phone, because people are getting lost in emails in their inbox. So, you know, going on the phone is just the perfect way to stand out, and you can build up the rapport very quickly as well if you go about it in the right way. So Julie, probably my final question is, where do you think, you know, there's all this chat about AI and everything like that. Where do you think it stands a place in recruitment? Like, do you think AI will ever screen candidates and there'll be no human interaction?
I don't know, absolutely not. I think relationships, I call them partnerships. So our clients and our candidates is partnership, but it's nothing. We just don't work any other way. And I think, how can you do that with AI? Do you know it has its purpose? And actually, I'm using it now, and I'm a bit of a dinosaur. So I'm using AI now and trying to, you know, get with the program, because I've got teenagers, and you know, and I want to have an idea of actually what's going on. What I will say is, and what we're embracing, is that there's tools out there, technology that actually can eliminate maybe the admin in recruitment, because there is a lot of it. And you're duplicating things, and actually it can really narrow, it can take away a lot of the, at least, and I run a kind of group, and it's all recruitment owners, and it's just people going out on their own. And it's an eye-opener because they're all using this technology and they're saying 2 or 3 hours a day, I don't even need to do that admin, it does it for me. But in recruitment, there is people within agencies that are admin, but they're not recruiters. So it might eliminate a wee bit of that.
Maybe reference requests, putting all that together and things.
But I would also say that there's other technology like voice to text. When you're out and you've met somebody, instead of typing up your notes, you can do voice to text. They don't get my accent yet. So when I do it, and I just take to go back and retype it and think there must be an easier way. But no, absolutely not. I think we're dealing with people. We're not dealing with pots and pans and packets of biscuits. We're dealing with people. Everybody's unique. And we can never ever think, well, they work there, so they're that kind of person. Everybody's got different wants. Their personal life is different. Their standard of maybe wanting to buy a house or your mortgage to be different from the next person. Everybody's unique, so they need to be treated that way. I don't think AI is ever going to be, that. I don't see it. But maybe talk to some of the tech recruiters. They're a wee bit more up on it. And I am good old-fashioned. Build relationships, build partnerships, and pick up the phone and meet people face to face. And that's worked for me for all these years, and it will still work for me for the next 10 years, doing what I do.
No, that's brilliant. And for anybody in the, who is an owner of a recruitment agency just now, what would you tell them that makes your service different from other people like you?
Okay. So the most important thing is we meet people face to face. And our competitors can all do whatever way they want, and that's their business. And what we do is our business. There's enough business for us all if we do it the right way. But not everybody meets people face to face. It's a case of a quick call, CV over, and hope for the best. We are not that agency. And if I was a client, I would not want to pay a fee for that. That's not a service. It's not even a half a service. So what we're different is we're a bit maturer. We've all got a wee bit of life experience, but also so we can relate to people all different age levels.
Yeah.
And we meet people, we find out about them, we actually care. But from the client, so that's our candidates, from the client's perspective, is they know that we've met them. And actually, any business owner in a recruitment agency, they should be encouraging their recruiters. It's not a quick call and hope for the best. That's very short-lived. And it might be a quick, buck now, but people don't forget that. Relationships and partnerships are built on face-to-face and not email, and it's meeting people. And that's what we do in life. We meet our partners because whether we do it online or we don't do it online, but we meet them. And, you don't do that with just texting back and forth and then you marry them. You've got to build the relationship. So,
exactly.
And our candidates really appreciate that because we're not just all about, my apologies. My apologies. So sorry. Our candidates are everything to us, but also sometimes they need to meet. They'll not get that on the phone. They need to meet and offload because actually where they are might be having a detrimental effect on them.
Yeah.
And sometimes just have that voice and think, right, voice of reason, right, and getting them to a better place and going on that journey with them. And we do that well. We do that really well.
No, and I can see the passion you have for it. And I've already, known lots of other people that you've worked with, and everyone speaks so highly of you, Julie. So thank you so much for coming along and explaining a bit more about what you do and the type of service you offer, and what's going to be really valuable for people. So thank you again.
You're very welcome, and thank you for asking me. Okay. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you so much. See you later.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.